My name is Theo and I'm a man of few words. I prefer solitude to the company of others. As an author, my work demands long, quiet hours, which suits me just fine. Writing is where I find my peace, where everything falls into place. Social gatherings, though, they've never been my thing. The noise, the small talk, the obligatory conversations, it's all draining, so I avoid them when I can. But there was one thing that used to matter more to me than my work: my marriage. Notice how I say used to. Lucy and I have been married for a while, but if I'm being honest, we hadn't felt like a real couple in a long time. We didn't fight, at least not often, but we didn't talk either. We simply coexisted under the same roof. Somewhere along the way, the love we once shared got lost in the spaces between us. Lucy was different from me. Outgoing, ambitious, always at the center of everything. Her high-powered consulting job required late nights, endless meetings, and business trips that often stretched on far longer than necessary. First, I asked questions. Why so late? Can't you wrap it up earlier at the office? When do we get time for us? The answers were always the same. Eventually, I stopped asking. I grew tired of excuses and accepted the truth. She didn't make time for me because she didn't want to. So I buried myself in my work, writing, reading, and enjoying the solitude. It was easier that way. Then one evening, she mentioned a company party. It wasn't just an invitation, it was an insistence. She said I should come, that it would be good for me, that I'd have a chance to meet some of the best minds in her industry, a networking opportunity. I wasn't interested in mingling with corporate types or pretending to care about their strategies. But there was something in the way she pushed it that made me pause. She wasn't merely suggesting it. She was demanding it. For the first time in a long while, it felt like she was making an effort. Maybe this was her way of trying to fix things. Maybe she was finally pulling me into her world, just like I'd always wanted. Part of me still wanted to believe our marriage could be salvaged. After a bit back and forth, I agreed. Little did I know, saying yes to that party would be the first step toward the end of everything. The venue was grand, filled with well-dressed professionals, smooth jazz playing in the background, and the scent of expensive champagne lingering in the air. Lucy had gone all out, wearing a stunning, form-fitting dress that turned heads the moment we arrived. I had made an effort too, slipping into a tailored suit, though I couldn't have cared less about making an impression. The introductions started right away. "So you're Theo, we've heard so much about you. It's great to finally meet you," they said with polite curiosity. The usual small talk. It didn't take long for me to realize I was a bit of a curiosity. I was the mystery husband, the man who never showed up at company events. Surprisingly, I engaged more than I expected. The conversations were tolerable, the drinks were decent, and for the first time in a long time, Lucy seemed to acknowledge my presence. For a brief moment, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something better. Then the music shifted, the lights dimmed just enough, and the dance floor began to fill with couples. I wasn't paying much attention, that is, until I saw him. A man, moving with effortless confidence, brushed past us. He didn't even acknowledge me. He went straight to Lucy. "Shall we?" he asked, extending his hand as though he already knew what her answer would be. For a split second, I waited. I expected Lucy to decline, maybe laugh it off, to remind him she was with her husband. Instead, she smiled. She was about to accept, and instinct took over. I reached out, grabbing her wrist firmly before she could take a step. My voice was low, controlled. "You're not going anywhere." That was when the man, Wilson, as I would later learn, finally noticed me. He turned his head slightly, his eyes flicking toward me, his expression unreadable. I stood my ground. "If you want to dance with my wife, do it the right way or don't do it at all." It should have ended there, but it didn't. Lucy turned to face me, her eyes blazing with anger. "What's wrong with you?" she snapped, yanking her arm away. "You're embarrassing me." I stood there stunned as she shot me one last look before brushing past me like I was nothing more than an inconvenience. Without a second thought, she walked off with him, right in front of me. No shame, no hesitation. It felt like something inside me snapped. "If you take one more step, I will end his marriage." That was when Wilson finally acknowledged me. He turned to face me fully, his gaze piercing and unyielding. In a calm, measured voice, he said, "You've always been weak. You won't do anything." Keeping his eyes locked with mine, he reached for Lucy's hand. She let him. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. I refused to be the fool who causes a scene at a party full of her colleagues. So I turned and walked away. Later that night, Lucy came home late. I was still awake, sitting in the dim light of the living room, my mind a whirlwind I couldn't quiet. She stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, her expression sharp. I expected some excuse, a feeble explanation, maybe even an apology. Instead, she launched into an angry rant. "You embarrassed me," she hissed. "You made a scene for no reason. Then you just walked out. Left me at my own work party." I let her vent. In her eyes, I was the villain. I was the one who had ruined everything. As I listened, it became painfully clear. Lucy no longer respected me. Not as her husband, not as a man. A marriage without respect is like a house built on shaky foundations. It's bound to collapse. Arguing was pointless. She had already decided she was in the right. Her actions had sealed our fate. But before I could fully confront our marriage, there was something else I had to deal with: Wilson. I'm not the type of man who seeks out conflict. But now that everything had unfolded, I knew it was time for me to act. Looking back, I've learned a few valuable lessons from this experience. Some of you might agree, others might not. But these are the truths I took away. First, disrespect is a first step toward betrayal. The moment Lucy followed Wilson onto that dance floor, our marriage was over. It wasn't about the dance itself, it was what it represented. A wife who truly respects her husband would never hesitate to turn down another man, especially not in front of him. The fact that she even entertained the idea, let alone went through with it, told me everything I needed to know. Second, when people show you who they are, believe them. Lucy had been distant long before that night. Late nights, endless excuses, always too busy for us. Those weren't random occurrences. They were warnings. I ignored them because I wanted to believe things could still be fixed. But the truth is, when someone repeatedly shows you that you're not a priority, it's because you're not. Third, revenge is best served cold. At the party that night, I felt powerless. Wilson looked me straight in the eye and called me weak. And for a moment, I almost believed him. But emotions make people reckless. Instead of acting out of anger, I waited patiently, gathering information and making each move with purpose. In the end, I turned a moment of humiliation into complete devastation. Wilson lost his job. His marriage is likely ruined. And Lucy, she got exactly what she deserved. Finally, restoring your dignity is never a wasted effort. Some might say I should have just walked away, that it wasn't worth the energy. Maybe they're right. But when someone openly disrespects you, when they make it clear they don't care about you, taking back your power isn't just justified. It's necessary. I refuse to be the kind of man who lets others walk all over him. And I have no regrets. Now I'll leave it to you. Was I right to do what I did? Or should I have handled things differently? Let me know.